I would see Josh with other partners where they had like what seemed to me like a better sexual connection. And I think that was jealousy and envy, because it was like I was afraid that the sexual connection that I had with him was going to be replaced, or we were going to lose that. And I was envious that they had that connection that I wanted. And then like that led to me discovering like, oh my God, like a huge part of my sexuality had been suppressed, like my entire life.
Because jealousy will always come. It will stem from an issue.
Today on Throuple Talk, we're talking about the big one, which is jealousy. After our last episode that we did, we received a lot of messages asking if we could go a little deeper in the subject. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go a little deeper. First off, we're going to play a message for you from one of our fans, and then we're going to go and talk about it some more. Sound good?
Yes.
Hey, you guys. My name is Cindy. I'm super excited with your podcast. I love every single episode and learning a lot about it. My husband and I recently opened our relationship, and we are actually seeing someone as a throuple. So watching your videos has been super helpful. However, I have an issue with jealousy, and I'm struggling so bad with it. My husband and I have been married for 16 years, and we have an amazing relationship. Is very we communicate very well. We can talk for hours, and it's just amazing. And bringing in someone else into the relationship has been a little painful for me, simply because seeing them together, it's been really, really hard for me. So I just wanted your thoughts on it, how you guys dealt with it. I really, really appreciate it. Bye.
This is a great message.
Yeah. Yep. Cindy, thank you so much for sending that. Like every time I listen to it, I've heard it so many times, and every time I listen to it, it's just like my heart is like, it goes out to you, because I've been there, and it's so hard because you're feeling these feelings that you don't want to feel. And oftentimes I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to either, because if you talk to monogamous friends or even people that are open but have hierarchies, they don't get it. And they're just like, well, you're having a problem with it. So the answer is just to stop doing what is making you feel jealous. And that was not helpful for me. Like I'm not wanting this behavior to stop. I want to know what I can do to fix this jealousy in myself, or fix these insecurities.
Exactly. So I've heard from so many people too that where they're having any type of relationship problem and they're non-monogamous and they're trying to talk to a therapist about it. The therapist's first go-to response is, oh, well, first of all, you're supposed to be monogamous.
Yeah.
Because there are no relationship issues in monogamy. That's
right. Yes. No.
Right. Well, jealousy can show its head in a monogamous relationship too. And it doesn't have to be necessarily something that's valid. It doesn't have to be something that your partner is doing, or like in this case, clearly opening the relationship is a trigger, but sometimes it can be anything. It doesn't have to have a valid and reasonable excuse.
So first off, do you want to cover what the difference is between jealousy and envy?
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of confusion. There's even been confusion for me on what they are, and a lot of people use them synonymously, but they are different. So jealousy is a fear that we're going to lose something that we already have. Like we sense some kind of a threat. And then envy is a fear that we're not going to get something that we don't have, that we deeply desire to have. So those are kind of what you have, you're going to lose.
Jealousy for both. I've seen that a lot. People will use, oh, I'm jealous. You went on a trip. I'm jealous. Actually, you're not jealous. You're envious. That's envy.
Well, and sometimes they can coexist.
No, they can. But like there's confusion. People use the word jealous and don't use envious when they're actually envious. They use it all the time for any situation.
It's more common.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I've heard it suggested that compersion is the cure to jealousy. They are opposites, but even those can coexist. So compersion, a very polyamorous specific word. I don't think a lot of other people use it, but where you feel joy for your partner's joy, and you can feel that and jealousy and envy all at the same time. A good example that I heard was like, if you have a job interview, like you're excited and you're anxious, or standing in line for a roller coaster, you're scared and you're excited. Like, so these things, even if they're opposites, they
Right. So
They can
compersion
still be-
and jealousy can coexist. At the same time, compersion is not a cure for jealousy.
Exactly.
It's something that you hopefully are able to achieve at some point in a polyamorous relationship or any kind of relationship. But it's something that you have to develop. It's a feeling. It's not a cure.
It's something, a path you have to start out towards.
Right.
But it does develop very naturally. Like you
It
start to
does.
find this, like, this actually makes me happy.
Right.
To make my partner happy.
When you finally get to that stage, let's assume you start a polyamorous relationship like Cindy with jealousy, and you finally unpacked all those issues and you figure out where the jealousy stems from, you can leave room to develop compersion.
Yeah, I really liked what our guest Mick said when he talked about when those feelings came up. In our episode of jealousy, he said he would push and lean into it. To really discover it. He was like, he almost like wanted to push himself past the feeling by throwing himself into a situation.
Which is it's a smart way of doing things. So human nature, when we have, is that when we have a negative feeling, we try to get away from it. This is why jealousy is such a big problem. So by trying to get away from something that you're feeling, ignoring it and denying that feeling, you're only going to make it stronger. It's only going to keep like stoking the fire. And at some point, either you're going to say, I can't do this anymore, or something's going to happen and it's just going to like explode. So by admitting the fact that you are jealous and talking about it out loud, which actually changes the way you perceive the emotion, it changes the way when you start talking about feelings, you're starting to start analyze them with another area of your brain, so they're not as intense anymore. You kind of bring reason into the feeling. So just by talking about it, just saying to your partner, I am jealous, and admitting to it, it's just going to make it like, I guess 50% of all the hassle is going to like start to like, it's going to be less.
So the feeling of jealousy and envy, is it wrong?
I don't think so.
No.
It's very natural.
Yeah, it might be an indicator that maybe something needs to change, but I do think that's a big problem. I think that's a reason for why a lot of us struggle with it, is because we do think it's wrong. And I was listening to something the other day that was saying it's like in our culture, it's different. I think it was Esther Perel, because she speaks all over the world. And she said in America in particular, we just have a different perception because we're supposed to be so like kind of like holding a relationship too tightly is like an indication that you're controlling and there's something unhealthy, but that's not true. Like if you don't value your relationship enough to recognize a threat and not be okay with that threat, then I mean, what kind of a relationship is that? So it's absolutely fine to experience jealousy and even envy. It's a healthy thing.
And it is desirable to some extent, because if I would feel absolutely no jealousy from my partner, then that means they don't care about me.
Yeah.
So
Or you don't really care about them.
Right. So it's like this, like, okay, I'm jealous because I care about you and I feel a threat that I may lose you. So to me, that means that I'm valuable. As long as that jealousy is not completely like affecting, right, your life, your relationship, and it starts to, and that's what happens when you open the relationship and polyamory comes into place. All of these things, all of these feelings that maybe they did not exist in your relationship before, because you didn't have to watch your partner being intimate with another person. Now all of a sudden there's something new here, something that you never thought you run away from, right? You run away from that. That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like the jealousy, often our knee-jerk reaction is to respond in a way that's unhealthy. So, I'm feeling this jealousy. I need to make this jealousy stop. So you need to stop doing what it is that's making me feel insecure. And then at that point, that becomes controlling your partner. And it's not actually fixing the problem because you're not overcoming that insecurity. So it's an indicator really that you need to strengthen your bond with your partner. Right. Yeah.
I feel like it's it's a wiring that goes way back to caveman days. We're thinking you have this fear that you see this other caveman get near your cave woman. You're like,
right. So it's very natural.
Get away. It's like
like
it's
you
a
want
threat.
that. Yeah.
It's a threat, and you're feeling it for a reason because it's real. It's not just in your head. And it's the same thing, for the, you'll go back to cave woman, she saw a caveman running off with another cave woman. She's
right.
Like,
and she'll be
that's my provider,
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
So I think that probably has something to, fast forward to now, it's like, I think what would help get rid of the jealous feelings is that feeling of security. If like, the relationship that you have is solid, rock solid, it helps, melt a lot of those insecurities away. And, the feelings of jealousy, there's always something that can spring up, but.
So that's something that it reminds me that jealousy is not always unfounded. It happens in partnerships, especially when you open the relationship, that one of the partners, and I think we talked about this a little bit before, one of the partners is not acting caring and considerate to the other partner. Mm-hmm. So if you're jealous, first of all, identify why you're jealous. Like, is it something that they're really doing, or is it something that's just coming from you? Because sometimes not everybody's fair and correct. You know, sometimes people are just not nice. So if it's something that your partner is doing and completely not taking into consideration your you and respecting you and making sure that you're still loved, then you should address that with them. You're not crazy for being jealous.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a non-monogamous couple over last weekend, and they kept talking about over communication. Mm-hmm. We talk about communication, till we're blue in the face, but it's like they were like, "But you got to over communicate." Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought they were very smart people too.
It was very interesting. Yeah, she said when you feel like you're over communicating, that's when you're just now finally actually achieving real communication. Wow, that's really interesting. Like, because sometimes you're like, my God, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here with saying this. But it's like, once you get to that point, you're finally communicating how important this is to you.
Let's talk about action steps. So let's put ourselves in Cindy's shoes.
Yeah.
And she's having this problem right now. With jealousy. What do you do
first?
Yeah.
I'm jealous. Well, first, like I said, find out why you're being jealous. And is it just you? Is it something that they're doing, your partner? So
is it inner work, or is there something you need to communicate?
Is it inner work, or is it something that maybe it's a relationship issue that you need to communicate? I want you to call me, for example. Like, I'm not comfortable with that, and I get jealous when you don't call me. Like, it might be a reasonable expectation or request, and maybe that's all that it takes, and it's fixed.
Yeah. I think even before that, you should identify whether it is jealousy or envy. Because I think, at least for me, that helps to figure out what the root is. So is it that I have something that is precious to me that I already have that I feel is threatened? Or is there something that I desperately want in my life that I fear I'm not going to have and I see you having it? So just figuring that out first for me is very helpful. And then, figuring out from there, what is it that's spurring that? Is it something that I'm suppressing in myself? Like, I definitely had that happen. Like, I would see Josh with other partners where they had like what seemed to me like a better sexual connection. And I think that was jealousy and envy, because it was like, I was afraid that the sexual connection that I had with him was going to be replaced, or we were going to lose that. And I was envious that they had that connection that I wanted. And then like that led to me discovering like, oh my God, like a huge part of my sexuality had been suppressed, like my entire life.
Because jealousy will always come. It will stem from an issue that you have. So we talk about insecurity. It's not necessarily lack of security of relationship as much as is your insecurity. There's something there that prods that jealousy, whatever it is.
So in that scenario, like for me, that jealousy and envy ended up being super helpful because it helped me to realize that. And then once I did, I was able to fix that in myself, and it made our relationship better. It made me as an individual better.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You get to find and address and fix issues that maybe in a monogamous relationship you would never address them.
Oh, I don't think it would have ever surfaced.
Yeah, so maybe you can live happily ever after like that, but are you truly living to the full extent of your individual, your personality, your soul? Like, that's what I like about non-monogamy, and I always love that in baby, because like that's what I'm into. But it's like it pushes me to be better, to find the skeletons in the closet that normally I would just quietly keep locked in there, and I would never take out.
Another thing that really helped me was gratitude practices and just realizing what I do have. Especially with the envy side of things, and realizing that for some things, it's just, I just can't have them right now. Or if I had that thing, it would mean that I would have to give up or couldn't have had this other thing. Like for me, my primary love language is quality time. So if I saw Josh getting quality time with somebody else, like even with Josh and Liv, like they recently went on a cruise and I wasn't able to go for a lot of reasons, but the primary one being I've got little kids and they were in school and there was no way that all three of us could go together. And so I was jealous in the sense that I was losing that quality time. You know, they were both gone. I didn't have quality time with either of them during that time. And I was envious that I also wasn't going on the cruise. But I also had compersion at the same time. I was really happy that they got to go so that, I mean, that.
Yeah, you got to experience all three. It was all three emotions.
Yeah, it was all three at once. But also bring it back to the gratitude. I'm really thankful for those little kids that are in our life and bring so much joy. And I wouldn't trade them for a cruise, or anything else, you know?
So my biggest issue with that would be like all your feelings are pretty valid and they make sense. And I think I'm asking this because I think a lot of people have an issue with not getting resentful of their partner or partners when they feel that way, because we have this tendency, if I feel something negative about any of you, it would be a natural tendency to blame you because I feel bad, right? We're always looking for the scapegoat. Who is it that made me feel this way? I don't like the way I feel, so it must be your fault. So how do you avoid being resentful in these situations? Like, nobody wants to hurt you. You do feel jealous. The reality is that the jealousy or envy, they are there, they exist. And they'll always be part, at some extent, you know, with a polyamorous relationship. That's my opinion. If you're trying to have polyamory without any jealousy or any envy, it's not going to work out. And I think a lot of people go into this, and that's why we get so many messages, because they're trying to not get these feelings anymore. And it's true. You get to learn more about yourself and fix a lot of issues and not have them unreasonably, but they're still going to be there.
Exactly.
You cannot not have them.
And I don't think it's healthy to live your life trying to avoid the things that trigger your jealousy and envy. Like, yeah, you shouldn't be trying to avoid them. You just need to address them as they come up. But
how do you not get upset with your partners and be resentful that they left you?
I think for me, it sounds stupid, but communication, because when you guys went on your overnight trip, you were, and I was stuck back
to
with the kids.
ballet.
Yeah. It was like, I even set the whole thing up and everything, but it's like after spending 2 days straight with kids and, juggling everything, and like, man,
it gets to you.
I experienced jealousy. Same thing as you. I experienced it all. It was
compersion,
envy. I wanted to, be out of town.
Did you really wanted to go to the ballet?
No, but I wanted the fancy dinners and stuff you guys went to.
It was wonderful.
I wanted to get out of town. And definitely FOMO. Just fear of missing out. What did I miss out on? And I'm dealing with everything back. Keeping the fort down here.
So did you at any point feel resentful?
I did. Even though you feel like you're not supposed to, you still feel a little resentful until I just was able to open up and be like, well, I didn't have a great time back here.
We're going back to what we were talking, what I was talking before, talking about the feeling. Even if it sounds stupid, don't feel ashamed that you're feeling it and you're thinking, oh, I'm not supposed to feel this.
Yeah.
Just by talking about it and telling your partners, you are going to analyze this feeling from another lens.
Yeah. Just because I felt that, though, just being able to talk about it made the feeling go away, one.
Yes.
And two, if I had to do it over again, I would still do it.
Yes.
What I felt didn't outweigh the compersion I got from it, So, but it was still like there's still always something, a little there.
Right. Yeah. I would say, too, a realization I recently had, if there is something that just kind of keeps coming up, like it comes up and you deal with it and you get past it and you think you're good, and then something else, something different happens that brings up the same thing. Like, really stop and look at that. Like for me, again, it's the quality time. And like even when Josh and Liv were planning the cruise, I was super excited about it. I was like, Josh and I surprised Liv with it. Like we made all the plans and then surprised her. And I was super happy and excited. And then all of a sudden, like I don't remember what triggered it, but I kind of had like an off day and I found myself starting to get resentful. And then I realized I was doing this like negative, like thought pattern kind of spiraling downward where I found myself convincing myself that I in some way wasn't worthy of having this. Like it's something like, and I realized I have been doing that in other areas too. And just correcting that, like, that's not what it is, you know, and so just realizing if you are doing that, really observe what is it stemming from and keep going deeper with that, because maybe you'll have a realization and then maybe the same thing will happen again and I'll have a deeper realization. And then every time you do that, you heal more. All of your relationships get that much stronger. Your relationship with yourself gets better.
The thing that I go for if I feel jealous and I do get resentful, I mean, not resentful, but if I do feel jealous, it would be like, oh, you don't love me. So because I feel jealous and you do this and you're not spending the time with me or whatever, or maybe envious, I'll be like, oh, so you don't love me. That would be my thing. I guess I don't do that anymore. But if I would ever, when I was at the beginning of non-monogamy, jealousy would be like, you don't love me. I feel jealous. You don't see that. You should be aware of my feelings. You should like be there for me. That's it. You don't love me. And it's like, all bad.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, though, that we all do very well is work very hard to not make each other jealous.
Right. So we do. I think we do a good job about that. Yeah. That's when I was talking. Maybe you do have a valid reason to be jealous because maybe your partner's just an asshole.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I do see people that are intentionally doing things to try to make their partner jealous. Maybe they're out and they're being a little flirty or whatever, you know, in a way that they know their partner is going to be insecure about it. Yeah, that's not okay.
How many people have we met in the non-monogamous world that should not be in the non-monogamous world? A lot.
They're just not doing the work. Yeah, the personal work.
It's not a place for the people that are trying to save their relationship. It's not a place for the immature. It's not a place for people who have issues and want to prove something to the other person. Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
No. So if you are looking for any resources on how to help overcome this, things that I have found helpful. I know I've mentioned it before. Polysecure by Jessica Fern really just comes from specifically a polyamorous perspective and talks about how to get a healthy attachment. And it definitely helped a lot with my initial dealing with the jealousy and the envy and all that. And another book that I really found helpful was when I read this last summer, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Just really talks about kind of what I was talking about earlier, where we have all these safeguards in place to avoid these negative feelings, including jealousy. And pretty soon we found ourselves like in this like tiny little box where we just are avoiding everything that triggers anything negative. And he really talks about the power of just acknowledging your negative feelings for what they are, but facing them and dealing with them. So that really helped me in a huge way.
And I like Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. It's a great book to teach you more about feelings and like identifying them and how to deal with them, where they're stemming from, and if they're good or bad or any of that. And a holistic relationship coach that I've just discovered. Her name is Hendry, and I think she's specializing in specifically jealousy in non-monogamous and LGBTQ relationships. So it's really right up our alley. I really like her.
Nice.
Allie, see that? And that's about it. Thank you for helping to normalize alternative relationship structures by liking, subscribing, and sharing with people just like yourselves.
If you found this helpful, please leave a comment for us. And we will also leave a link in the description if you want to send us a voicemail.
And thank you to Cindy and all the other people that send us messages. We do listen to them all. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.